Heretics, like they did this massive move. By the way, it is massive. He did replace Perks with a guy from ERL. But first things first, do you actually know, how do you pronounce the guy's name? Do you say it's Viru? Do you say it's Weeru? What do you say?
Oh, I don't even attempt to even pronounce his name properly. Bro, like, I don't even say like the LPL name. I just make up LPL pronunciations for like, people in Korean for like the past 10 years. So I don't even...
Sure. Okay, so there's obviously him replacing Perks, and then the other move, which now almost got masked, is obviously Kaiser was replaced by Trimby. So on the first week, they did go 2-1, and they did beat Fnatic, so it's pretty big. They lost to Vitality. What did you think of the new Heretics?
So, first of all, like, I thought the team was like overall like pretty improved. I think the biggest like change for me is actually like Trimby for Kaiser, considering like what Trimby can supply to a team in terms of like even a bad team, what Trimby can like bring. I pointed this out, like just take like a cold case example. Just watch like a game of like Zolas on Rogue and Trimby on Heretic, and look how much more like Trimby moves around the map and how much more active he is on the map. It's not, and even you can even count the number of like plays that he's like making. He just knows and doesn't seem to have to be like guided. Another thing is like it looked to be he's even better paired with Jankos than Kaiser was, and this is something that helped Humanoid out last split. Is Trimby is someone that loves to come into midsection and play the game. Now I thought this could have been something that helped Perks, but they ended up not going with Perks. They ended up going with Zyrus. So, you know, it's really good for a rookie mid. You know what I mean? When you're down in certain specific matchups, your support wants to come to your lane. You don't have to try and like create like, you know what I mean, invite him here, like tell him, oh, come here because I'm losing. It's something that Trimby's like already got an affinity towards doing. He's also like paired up with probably one of last year, like the most stable player. And I think it's better that like, you know, Flat's actually gotten basically like an upgrade, and the bot side of Heretics looks to be like not so much more serious, but they'll be able to like execute better on their winning positions. Because even though I do agree Kaiser was a lot more improved from split to split, I did actually think his previous performance from last year warranted his removal. And then if you're going to get offered Trimby, you snatch the hand that offers you that. Like that is like a candidate for, you know, Fnatic didn't want him for variety of like reasons. If Fnatic doesn't want him, any team in the apart from Mickey X team should take him. He's the positives that he like supplies in game are just absolutely unbelievable. So I was actually really impressed. The one thing I would say though is the Fnatic game that they won. That might be the worst carry performance from Fnatic's carries I've seen in a long time.
Sure.
Humanoid and Noah decided that they both didn't want to win the game, and as such, if your carries decide that, you're just going to lose in embarrassing fashion. So I think they're playing a lot better. I think Jankos looks like he's playing a lot better as well. The team looks a lot more like coordinated. So I don't know if it's just because you've got maybe like Perks not talking as much and a more singular vision on how to play the game. But I was actually kind of really impressed, and I'm kind of happy for them, because if another team that can like push people in different ways, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, actually, that's the way I was going to attack this myself, is on like the context of the players coming in. Because in the off season, you had this whole thing where this just shows you how weird fan opinions are, dude. Because even though, like, for example, when Perks gets removed, the fan opinion isn't, yeah, well, he's playing bad in this split. The fan opinion is, yeah, well, he's been terrible for years, hasn't he? So he should be removed. But then by the same logic, the same fans who were telling you last year, like, Kaiser has no hands and basically doesn't know how to play League of Legends, now they're like, yeah, but in these first few weeks he was good though. It's like, well, that's the same logic though. Like, what? Like, bro, if someone gets to coast on their legacy, it's Perks, not Kaiser. What are we even talking about with that? One of them's like the GOAT. The other one was just a good player who won some championships. And so I'll put that aside, because my problem with the Kaiser move went like this. I don't think people argued it in good faith, mate. As far as I can tell, the main argument went like this. He's better than he was before, because obviously he was terrible last year and he did look pretty good this split. Like, the problem with that is that's not an argument against getting Trimby. Like, think about this, guys. By that logic, I shouldn't get Carrier because Kaiser's better than Kaiser was before. But yeah, but is Carrier available? If Carrier's available, I don't care how good Kaiser was. That's irrelevant. It's not even, that's a non sequitur. And then the other angle goes like this. Obviously, the question still becomes, even so, if Kaiser is better, will I gain more by recruiting Trimby? Now, what's weird is, dude, I didn't see any arguments against that. Every argument even seemed to acknowledge that, yeah, maybe Trimby will bring more intangibles and shot calling and maybe he has a bigger jump ball. So then why are we arguing at the end? Like, as far as I can tell, let's be real, the argument went like this. Because at the time Perks hadn't been benched, people looked at the roster and they thought this. Well, wait a minute. In this team, Perks has been bad. Jankos has been underwhelming. Wonder wasn't a carry. And actually, Kaiser played better than he did before. Therefore, basically, your main argument is just Kaiser wasn't the biggest problem. Now, I'm fine with that, but I will just say this because it feels like an obvious fucking point. Yes, when you have Perks on your team and you remove Kaiser, maybe that on some level is unfair. But if you end up also removing Perks, now suddenly the Trimby signing looks genius because now you do get all the intangibles, which you now really need because Perks was supposed to bring those, but apparently didn't. So I also think that whole thing just got lost in that, because essentially, like, without going into it, if people know Counter-Strike, the same thing happened in Counter-Strike. When the Astralis super team just failed, everyone got mad at the notion you might kick the new guy, stare, but they ignored things like, yeah, but the point is, it's not that he played bad, he was actually one of the better players. It's that the other players are supposed to be superstars and they all cost millions of dollars. Like, the point is, they're not equal players again. Like, we're not kicking people. I'm sorry, I know every fan wants to believe this is true, but if I sign someone for millions of dollars, like Piglet, I'm going to let him be a bit more of a prick. I'm going to give him more chances. I'm going to try and find a new way to make next lineup work because I spent millions of dollars. And even though it's called a sunk cost fallacy, it's also just, by the way, wanting to have satisfaction in your roster moves. You don't want to make a roster move, spend loads of money, and then not even try the guy, then have to fire him, and then you get fired as well. Like, you want to at least like ride out with your choices, and then come what may, you take it on the chin. So with all that said, that is all to say this. Bro, this is where plebs will never stop being plebs. Because I do think the take, I don't know if it's Perks haters or people who don't watch the game, I do think the take is it's just the Zviru guy who played way better. By the way, guys, this fucking first week, I don't have complaints, but he was just a passenger, bruh. He just chilled. Essentially, his job was just be not Perks. And because he just didn't die, he didn't do any insane plays, mate. I watched the games. If anything, I would say what they missed is the real angle is, like you nailed it earlier. First of all, Jankos looks way better without Perks. And Jankos and Trimby, remember they're both Polish as well, guys. They look fucking awesome. I even think if you think through their history, they're even going to have a mega synergy together because Jankos famously, when people say he's a shot caller, he's more like the background shot caller. Like, he talks about what he's going to do and what his next move is. The reason why him and Perks was the dream is because Perks is the primary shot caller. If anything, I think him and Trimby will end up having a good relationship. And then also, I'll throw this other one out there as well. Back in the day, when Jankos used to win MVP of the LEC, remember back in season 9, season 10, right? At that time, one of the reasons I agreed Jankos should be the MVP is because back in the day, even though we had players like Hillsong who were insane, the logic went, yeah, but the jungler has to unlock the bot lane to allow the support to roam to then do all the shit mid. Well, here's the thing. Trimby is in his fucking dream world now, mate, because he isn't playing with some like comp type guy or Hansama. They're guys who want to win the lane, guys. They want to play 2v2 League of Legends Uzi I style and just get ahead and be like 3 levels up and a bunch of CS up and then roam. Right? This guy, if you leave him with Flackhead, this is also a dream. This guy can roam all day long. He already had an insane champion pool anyway. By the way, I'll just remind people of this. Wasn't Targamas in his interesting champion pool kind of cool when it was with Flackhead? Remember? All of a sudden those picks were dope, weren't they? And if, by the way, part of that is down to Flackhead. Flackhead can play the other side of those weird matchups. So I actually think, by the way, it's why on the last episode, even though we hadn't seen them play yet, I actually had Heretics as one of my better teams. I think I put them as my 4th team for the split or something. I think they're going to be a lot better. Like, I actually think you've seen now, it's not that like the Zero guy is what Perks should be. He's just not Perks, and that's actually all they need right now. It just looks good, this team, because, look, I'm not going to make out that they're a top team. If this team went to Worlds, mate, they wouldn't do anything. But I'll tell you what, with how weak LEC is, like we're talking about, this team can win a lot of games, I think. This team really can be up. They're going to be like a playoff threat for me. I think they're interesting.
And they still have that veteran aspect, less so in mid.
Sure.
I talked about in winter, where they'll catch throws. As in, like, when people, like, slip up, they'll see, like, the opportunities. And within them, when people have got bad setups, they'll catch them. And this is another one, a bit similar to Ignar of old, not Ignar now, and He, if you watch his gameplay in NA when he's good. Trimby's, he's got a massive champion pool, but as of recently, he's been like an engaged like specialist. And when you're a worse team, having like someone who's very comfortable with a go button, who doesn't really care if he dies like 9 consecutive times, to attempt to like get you angles into the game and will make like consecutive engages and look for consecutive engage angles is a really, really, really good thing to have, because it means that you're someone who's confident, and like someone like Zyro, you know what I mean, he leads up, he's secondary engage to someone else, he's playing to someone else's fiddle. So that's like a really, really big thing for the team. One of the ones you've got to look at though is I usually don't like go that crazy and into like you should have just banned X. But and I know it was just the first game, but I don't think any team should be given Smolder basically like at all. And you should also not be given Smolder to like teams that you think you're better than, in terms of like, if any pick is going to fuck you up and just make you randomly lose to a team who is much worse than you, it's Smolder, because just the way the champion works with execute, the way the game stalls out, the way he like scales in such a unique way, he allows you to like free wave clear and hold midsection. It's just a very, very silly champion design, basically. It's way, way too overtuned. And they lost to like Carzzy Smolder, which there's like no shame in. Like Carzzy's a good player. It's a ridiculous pick. But even within that game, one of the concerns I had was, as the game was like slipping away from them, they couldn't really find a plan B. And this was something Nymera was talking to me, and what they couldn't really adapt like on the fly to like find something. Now it was the first game of the season. It has been 1 week so far, so I don't want to over exaggerate it. And plus, like, the champ's ridiculous. But that was about the only thing I could say about them so much. It's like when Plan A doesn't work, they don't look like they're finding like Plan B, C. Like when they lost that like team fight to Fnatic in the base, they basically just set up the exact same team fight again and prayed to God that Noah forgot he had a flash. So that would be kind of my assessment of Heretics right now.
Oh yeah, two other things quickly to throw in there. One is, I'll just say this. It was, because this was made public. If you go out there, look, I'm sure the records have been deleted, but it was there. People saw and they know the drama. We actually know, there's evidence that Peter Don himself didn't want Kaiser kicked, by the way, which is mad that you ever get that, because there was a weird leak to DM, by the way, where some fan DM'd him, and basically the fan themselves, because they're scumbags, just leaked what he said in the DM, which he basically just said, like, he was travelling and he wasn't aware they were bringing Trimby in. So that's interesting in itself. But I'll just put that out there as food for thought for later if we talk in future splits about the coaching staff and whether they chose the players, because people are going to say that, you know, they have all the power. It's Peter Don, he picks the whole team. Well, that's interesting that he didn't pick that player. But the other thing to say is this, which goes like this. The other reason I also thought this first week really did make me like quite pleased with my prediction that there'll be a way better squad is because, mate, that Fnatic game also is one of the reasons I have never been out on Wunder, because Wunder is just built different, mate. You know how many fucking top laners, when the game starts like that, would just mentally fold or chain feed and ruin the game? This guy doesn't care, mate. Like, he just has an amazing ability to just keep playing the game. It's why I said and put him in that category with Perks and Yankos of like people I think just understand like how to win games of League of Legends. Like they can really do that shit that you should actually do in solo queue if you're not a pleb. Of you don't go, oh, these mistakes, this game's lost. You go, is there a way to win still? You try and identify like the scenario, like, is it, what can I do? Or is like, for example, you even think things like, can someone else carry me? This guy's the best at that, mate. He knows when to be useful, when not to be, when I've gone too much. In fact, he even does almost what I think cynically you should do in teams. It's just hard not to say it to a teammate without crushing the morale. I always used to say when I would play the game, Key-Ray, if you're playing solo queue and the top laner, you know, maybe it's like a Renekton or something like that, whatever, it's someone who thinks they're the shit, you're allowed to die a bunch of times. Top lane, I get it, mate. You're always going to get ganked. It's easy to get ganked to that lane. You might just get outplayed. You might go for a calculator. But here's the thing. Once you go 0-5, all I would type ever is I'd go, okay, no problem. You just don't get to play top lane anymore. Tank items only, please. I would just type that and I would hit send. Because my rule at that point is like, look, you've had your fun, mate. You've tried it out to see if you can be the dude and carry. But now that you didn't carry, there's no point turning the 0-5 into a 0-15 and we can't win the game. You may as well try and be useful and give us a chance. Like, give us in the bot lane. Let us carry the game, basically. So, like, Wunder gets that, mate. He's actually probably one of the best players I've ever seen knowing when to be carried. And I thought he did a great job in this game. And in general, this is also why you can't just judge players in isolation. Like we said about Yankos, mate, he looks very different with the Zemu guy and Perks. Like, that makes me think Perks had influence over him, or they had an idea about how they wanted to play that they don't now. So, yeah, I brought this up at the beginning because I actually think it's quite a wide open tier. I don't think there are strong conclusions. I'm just interested in the turnaround. Let's flip over, though. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.